I take one of those motorcycle taxis to the Casa de Changui, Guantanamo, and there I just see 5 dudes just like waiting for me. Like I just see 5 dudes just there, and I'm like, okay. I get off, and then one of them was Tavera, the one was Carmelo, the other one was Jose Andres, the singer, and they're just fucking treating me like family, man.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Everything But Music. Today we have Gabriel Garcia, tresero, singer, songwriter, and founding member of Changui Majadero, an amazing Changui band based in East Los Angeles that we're going to hear a lot about. We're going to hear a lot about Gabriel's travels to Cuba. We're going to hear a lot about Gabriel's research and study of Cuban music, also rock music, rock en español, jazz music, and basically how he grew up as someone very much from Southern California, coming back and forth over the border from Mexico to SoCal, and how that's influenced his music making. I hope you all enjoy this episode as much as I did. Let's get to it. It's crazy, man. I was putting this stuff together today. I was preparing for it, and I thought, damn, I think I've known Gabriel for about 10 years, man. Damn. We've known each other for 10 years now. When did we meet? Like 2010, essentially, right? Somewhere around there.
I have the most terrible memory when it comes to dates. That's why I'm not getting my doctorates, man. That's why I'm not getting my doctors like you.
I think it's been like 10 years, man. And it's been very cool and inspiring in many ways to see what you've done, because we were both I met you in San Diego. I was going to UCSD for my undergrad. I ended up playing in a community college band where you and I met. I was playing timbales.
That's where we met. That's what I was wondering where we met. Was it at that
Miracosta
ensemble in Miracosta? Gotcha.
Yeah, under Mario Gonzalez. And then we met Kirk Portuguez too. Shout out to Kirk Portuguez, amazing drummer here in San Diego. Dane Schultz, who's actually
cool dude.
Kirk,
I remember, cool dude, man. Cool
dude. Dane Schultz, who's at Columbia now doing his doctorate in ethnomusicology too. He does a ton of stuff. He's going to be on the podcast soon, probably the next episode after this one.
Cool
He'll
dude.
Be on the,
Was it a cool dude too? He's Argentinian or something like that?
No, he just learned Spanish from a bunch of Argentinians. So he talks Spanish with an Argentinian accent. So he just rolls with it. He's actually from San Diego. I think he's like Polish or something. I don't know. We'll find out. So we all met there. Yeah, man, it's been about 10 years, and it's been cool to see you move from San Diego to LA and to create all these really, really cool things that have gotten international attention that I'd like to go over in the episode with you. But really, like I was saying before, I've always noticed that you have this, this strong sense of identity and connection with your Mexican side, right? And who you are as a Latino in California, in the United States. And I feel like that very much so influences you as a musician, as a person, and we're able to see that and appreciate that in all your work that you put out. And it's been cool to see you do that stuff from San Diego to LA and beyond, right? So that's what I want to get at by way of, so where are you actually from? You're from San Diego originally?
I was born in Los Angeles and kind of raised all over the place in Southern California. So born in Los Angeles, then moved to San Diego. I lived in Tecate, Mexico for a little bit in Mexico. I went to high school in San Diego, and then I came back to Los Angeles. So it's been, Southern California, Southern Cali. That's where I'm from, I guess.
A lot of Southern California and Mexico. Well, one part of a lot of Southern California and a bit of Mexico.
Yeah, a bit of Mexico. Yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm. My parents moved a lot, so I wasn't in one particular area. I remember like even in elementary school, I remember just moving all over the place, So I never had like one home, I guess, as far as like, some people like know friends since elementary school and they grew up together and they grew up in the same neighborhood. I was kind of like all over the place.
Where do you remember most? Where did you, in your mind, put down roots the most? If you have to think to like your adolescence and growing up, where's one place?
Southern California, man.
In general. So it wouldn't be San Diego or LA.
San Diego was a huge. I mean, I went to high school there. You know what I mean? Like Southern California. Yeah, San Diego is definitely my roots, but I say Southern California because, well, I'm trying to think if is the border town by Dulzura, if that's considered San Diego, or it's definitely in San Diego County, but I don't know if it's San Diego. It's like it's so my parents moved out to like the boonies when I was really young, when I was a kid, because I have an older sister and two older brothers, and the oldest of us is my sister, and at a young age she was getting into problems, you know what I mean, like, hanging around with the wrong people. So my parents have always been smart in that sense. Like, before like things got too hectic, my parents would leave. You know what I mean? Like the same thing in Los Angeles. They lived in Hawaiian Gardens. And this is when I was born. So like down the street, a kid got shot, and my two older brothers would be playing in the street a lot and everything. So they decided to move to San Diego, to Imperial Beach. So from Imperial Beach, that back then it was known for a lot of like crystal meth and a lot of drugs or whatever, but it was big on crystal meth and all that. So like, what do you know? The elementary school that my sister was going to, like whatever things were happening, so my parents decided to get the hell out of here, and they went all the way to the boonies, man. I don't know if you're familiar with going towards like Homul area.
Oh, yeah. That's way out there.
Yeah, way out there, man, in the boonies. So Homul, well, there's a little, I don't know if you want to call it a town. I don't know what you call it. It's called Dulzura, and it's literally really close to the border with Tecate, with Tecate, Mexico. So I remember all the time going to Tecate. Like I was going to Tecate, Mexico, because I have family from Nayarit that moved from Nayarit, Mexico, because that's where my dad's from, Nayarit, Mexico. A lot of them migrated to Tecate, Mexico, because it's the border town. Probably more work. Probably the reason why, I don't know. But so I remember always just going back and forth from Dosura to Tecate, just kicking it with family, hanging out. So that's a lot of my roots too, like, and I do remember it being very peaceful out there, out in the boonies, because there's nothing out there. It's just mountains, you know what I mean? Just mountains. And I do remember that kind of peacefulness about that, you know what I mean?
What were the people like? Because in LA, man, it's so, you said you were coming from LA and Hawaiian Gardens. I mean, comparing LA, and granted, I don't know what it was like then, I wasn't there then, but now, I mean, the last 7 years that I was there, it's just like people on people, everything is so hectic. And if you go from there to the boonies, what was the difference in the people and the atmosphere like?
To be honest, I was too young, man, to know the difference. I think I was too young to kind of know the difference. But now as an adult, there just is no people out there, man. The difference is there is no people. That's the difference.
That's the piece. There's nobody out there. That's the piece.
Nobody out there, man. Really, like we moved to like literally to a trailer park out in Dosura. So it was a poor community, but like in the mountains. Like it's beautiful. Like you're in nature. You know what I mean? Like so yeah. So I mean, there's I don't remember, man. I don't remember.
But you do remember it being
I know
peaceful.
That out in Jamul, there's a lot of white folks. I know in Jamul there's a lot of white folks.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that there was paisanos too, like that came from Tecate. You know what I mean? That worked, that were from Tecate, who worked in the United States. You know what I mean? And settled there. So I know.
Why don't we define some things? So we talk about boonies. So anyway, so this is probably going to be listening to people who aren't from California, right? So they're not going to know what any of these words mean. So boonies, that's like somewhere in the middle of nowhere, but not really, right? It's not pejorative, right? It can be like a little town in a mountainous area that, you know, you're 30 minutes away from like the nearest city. That's like boonies. A paisano, how would you define paisano? And because
Paisano, it's just Mexican. That's
yeah,
I call paisano paisa just Mexicans. Yeah.
but that means something though, paisa, because you can have a Mexican from like the F that's not paisa, right? And then you can have a Mexican that's paisa. So like, how would you define all these
No,
things?
I think it's just a slang term, man.
Right,
It's a
right,
slang.
right.
It's paisa is just a slang term. It's short for paisano, for countryman. You know what I mean? It's,
Countryman,
you know,
yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
So paisa comes from paisano, countryman. So um
Not pejorative. Another not pejorative term.
but you know
Doesn't
the
have to
funny
be.
thing, the funny thing is that, you know, it's weird because in other countries, like in Colombia, paisa means something else.
Hmm.
Like it refers to another type of people that who. So like I stopped using the word paisa a lot, but then like I just kick it around to many Mexicans,
It'll
and
come. Yeah, it'll come out. I mean, my mom's side of the family is very Mexican. They use it all the
yeah,
time. You know, so just to keep people in the loop of what all these different words mean and all their cultural meanings. It doesn't have
yeah,
to be pejorative. It can be pejorative. Um, I know in Cuba, right? They call people guajiros. Guajiros kind of mean the same thing. Someone from like the countryside,
yeah. It's
this
like
kind of
saying
thing.
Guajiro. So yeah,
Okay, so you very much from SoCal then. So what were some of the sounds that you grew up listening to? You know, because I know that you have a there's some strong Mexican influence in your music. We're gonna watch a video in a bit of you playing bajo sexto and doing some ranchera. But
you know, it's funny, man, because I grew up listening. So I got to give you, in order to answer that question, got to give you some background on my parents.
mhm,
So my dad's from Nayarit, Mexico. My mom's Mexican American, Chicana from East Los Angeles. Well, she was born in Arizona but grew up in East Los Angeles since she was a little kid, and she was raised by her aunt because her mom my mom grew up an orphan because her parents passed away when she was little,
mhm.
so she was raised by her aunt in East LA, actually right down the street by where I used to live in City Terrace. So so my mom grew up listening, would bump a lot of like Beatles. She would bump a lot of Mexican music. She would bump kind of everything. What you know, like a lot of Earth, Wind and Fire, a lot of funk. You know,
Mm,
like
that's what I'm
Stevie
talking about.
Wonders. You know what I mean? She would
Hmm.
always like sing. She would always sing to me. I just want to say I love you. I remember I'd be like, Mom, stop. You know, like as a little kid. You know what I mean? Like, and she would always like sing that song to me. I'm like, Mom, stop. You know, like, you know, yeah, she was. I was definitely the consentido. The consentido is the. I say consentido and
Consentido. I mean, I know it as like the baby. You're the little
yeah,
prince.
I was definitely the baby. So she would
Yeah.
like just mess around with me, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
I'd be like, Mom, stop. So, anyways, yeah. So, and my dad's from Nayarit, Mexico. He listened to a lot of cumbia, a lot of rancheras. You know what I mean? So I have
Hmm.
no like I didn't listen to anything Cuban. You know, growing up. You know what I mean? Unless you want to, you know, like Celia Cruz, but Celia Cruz is more in the pop, you know,
Hmm.
of Cuban. But as far as like salsa, salseros, you know, like I have salsero friends who are straight out like they grew up listening to salsa since they, you know, they were or whatever Cuban music, Cuban song. So I didn't. I came in a little bit late in the game in that sense, listening to that style of music. But I did grow up listening to a lot of corridos, a lot of things like that. So I had no clue that I had a musical gene in me or whatever. Music. I didn't know I had music, even a passion for music until late in my life, until I was a senior in high school, I think, man. So before that, I used to box since I was 10 years old. You know what I mean? Until pretty much a senior in high school. You know, and I was serious about that. You know, that taught me a lot of discipline, kept me out of a lot of trouble. You know, um, and then later on, I find out that my grandma, which was my mom's mom, who passed away when my mom was little, was an opera singer. Like she was a well-known, famous opera singer who would tour Mexico and all that. Sing like, and she had a soprano voice.
What was her name?
Yeah, and I listened to a tape recording that my mom had.
What was your
Or
grandmother's name?
man, what's her name? Um, her last name's Zavala. Um, I don't know her first names. It's terrible, but
Zavala. I'll do some
yeah, because
research. I'll
to
do
be
some
honest,
research.
I don't know much about her side of the family because I mean it was a pretty tragic way of the way they passed away. You know what I mean? Like my grandpa, my grandma both died of alcoholism. You
Mm.
know, and it was pretty bad.
Same as
So,
my grandfather. Same way
yeah,
on my dad's side. Same thing.
yeah. So yeah, they both passed away of alcoholism, and there was just kind of a lot of drama. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
happening there. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't, you know, sadly enough, I don't know much about their side of the family. But back to what I was saying, I listened to a recording of her, and dude, she sounds like you know the like those Disney sopranos, like Snow White, like she has like that kind of voice. I was
Way up
just
there.
like, what the hell? Like, and then that's where I kind of realized, like, oh shit, you know, like, I I do have, you know, like once I started playing guitar or whatever, like, it just came really like natural to me as far
Mm-hmm.
as like I had a good ear already, you know, like it was weird and then it just became like a lot of musicians it becomes an obsession where you just that's all you do, that's all you do, that's all you do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's my background as far as things that I've listened to. Sorry man, it's a long answer to your
No,
question.
long answers are good. And I'll do
Yeah,
some research on her grandmother. I want to see if I can't find a little bit more about her. See,
I'll do too man, and I'll send it to you man. I'll send you. I will get her name. I know there's been she came out like in an article, a newspaper article. I remember my mom showed me that was online.
wow.
Yeah, like from back then, you know. I gotta ask my mom.
So then you started in high school then as a senior. You were boxing most of your life, and then as a senior, what happened? What changed? What was the moment where you were
So
like,
what
you know what?
it was a friend of mine at the time. He shows me a guitar. Like he starts playing guitar, you know what I mean? Like back then, a lot of people were listening to like, in especially in San Diego, it was rock en español was huge. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So he would play some like Enanitos Verdes, and I was just like, man, let me try. Can I try? You know? And
I don't look
he's like,
that hard.
sure. Yeah, he's like, sure. And he shows me some chords, and that's it, man. It was over. Game over. I
What was,
just
what was the song? You remember the name of the song?
Borracho y Loco.
Oh
Lamento
damn.
Boliviano. Yeah, yeah. That one just has like 3 chords. You know what I mean? And then after that, it was Stairway to Heaven. You know what I mean? Like a little by little. You know,
Wait. Lamento Borincano?
Lamento Boliviano or something like that,
Boliviano. Okay.
or Borincano. I don't know something.
Borincano's that's that beautiful. I'm forgetting the composer's name. That's a salsa. Well, it's become like a salsa staple. That's a gorgeous song. But that wasn't like a rock and español song. That was. I
I
mean,
know
I know
as
it is.
Borracho y Loco.
Borracho y loco. Okay.
Borracho y Loco. Yeah, no, it's a classic. Enanitos Verdes, rock en español jam. But yeah, so I like, so it's funny, man. Like, so the first style of music that I started playing was like rock, was reggae, was you know, of course I was a big hip hop head too. Like I listened to a lot of, well, rap, should I say more? I would listen to a lot of gangster rap at that time. G
Tupac.
Funk or whatever,
G-Funk.
Tupac, yeah, all the G Funk that was coming out in the '90s. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember we were having a discussion about that once. Here, like, oh man, I don't like that. You used to tell me that you didn't like that music, which for good reason. You know what
G-Funk? G-Funk
I mean?
music? I mean, look, man, I was there, right there with it. I was into all of it. I love Tupac. I mean, Cube, all of them. Snoop Dogg. I loved it all. But I think what it was more for me, looking back, it was, I mean, Too Short. I love Too Short. But then I think I liked funk because I grew up listening to
Yeah,
Earth, Wind,
yeah,
and Power, you
exactly.
know,
Listen,
Earth, Wind, and Fire,
exactly,
Tower of
exactly,
Power. You know what I mean? So like the music,
exactly,
and you listen to
exactly.
like early Snoop Dogg, and it's like it's just funk music. That's what it
Yeah,
is.
but
And the
also the phrasing of the lyrics. You know what I mean? Like,
Snoop
you
Dogg
know,
uses triplets. I mean, Too Short.
yeah,
The
exactly,
16th notes that he uses, the 16th
exactly.
note phrases are crazy. So
And the
go,
soul behind it. You know what I mean?
the
The soul.
soul. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
you know what? Yeah, a lot of the lyrics are garbage, complete garbage. You know what I mean? But there were some that were good and positive. And you know, a lot of them were just, you know, talking about a lot of lyrics are just talking about what was happening in their everyday life. You know what I mean? And then of course there's the songs that are glorifying this certain style of music. It's the same thing that's happening to corridos nowadays. Now, if you listen to Mexican corridos, it's the same thing that happened in gangster rap the same exact thing happening into Mexican corridos right now. It's crazy.
You're talking about like narco corridos and all this?
Yeah, narco corridos and a lot of stuff. Yeah, like it's just basically what it is. It's gangster rap, but in Spanish and singing in the corrido style. It's crazy. How it happened is crazy.
But that's going everywhere, man. Like rap and hip hop, that aesthetic, that culture is moving everywhere in the world. You know, it's not. I think it's just something that's happening. And look, man,
no,
I mean,
it's not. But it's what I mean is the whole. So it's not hip hop. Well, yes, you'll see like fusion of hip hop and corridos, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the fact that a genre of music like corridos that used to not be about violence, used to not be about any of this stuff. Out of nowhere, like you have lyrics glorifying a certain style of living, of having women and having drugs and having a mansion and this and a car, you know what I mean, glorifying that kind of stuff the same way that rap did, you know what I mean, in certain styles.
I would wonder if it doesn't have to do with the production. So if you look at like early rap and early hip hop, the production was real low, right? But as I would say as like gangster rap became hip hop and it became really mainstream, the production went up. So then you started to have people, sitting on top of like, instead of like old school caddies, it was like Maseratis or whatever you want, like very expensive things and, all the bling, they're like dripping in gold or all this. That looks cool. It doesn't matter what you're about, it doesn't matter what your political leanings are. That shit looks cool. Like it just looks cool, especially the younger the demographic, right? So I think that it's kind of only natural that certain genres of music, they see these music videos as these things are disseminating, over the borders of the United States, and people become influenced and they see certain things and they're like, I mean, I was looking at a music video from, I could have sworn it was out of, where was it? I think my homie that does work in Oman sent it to me. I don't know, somewhere in the Middle East. But the homies are like in Range Rovers in the desert, like dripping in gold, kind of like doing the same aesthetic, but influenced by Middle Eastern music, but with a hip hop background. There's like a backbeat to it.
That's crazy.
It's just people want to look dope, and they want to look clean and they want to portray like power and all this different stuff. It's kind of natural, but it is sad though to think that certain styles of music are losing their integrity.
Where do you think that came from though? Like that aesthetic, that look, or that whatever you want to call it. Do you think that came from hip hop?
For sure. Run DMC and like, I mean, the Adidas tracksuits with the gold chains, all this. I mean, we're seeing a resurgence of this with like Bruno Mars, right? He's bringing this back, but that's stayed with the music very much so, I think, since the 80s, since the late 80s. But I think also as well, you have like J Balvin reinterpreting that in his own way, right? He has his own style of, like, his thing is kind of like a retro look. Him and Bad Bunny have a retro thing going on, lots of neon colors. They're referencing more the 90s than the 80s, right? So then you have a lot of, now they're moving more into like if you look more into like, what's that motherfucker's name? Osuna, right? Like he's doing kind of the same thing. So these looks, I think, whatever looks slick, period. It's like music. Good music is good music. It doesn't matter what language it's in. It doesn't matter where it's from. Good music is good music. But then it gets reinterpreted. And when you find something, I think, that sells well, especially if it's popular music, it's going to be reinterpreted in different ways, right? In different places. So with the hip hop thing, that look worked. And a bunch of people were influenced by that. And then that was reinterpreted by different people. And then every 10 years, you see a resurgence of it or a reinterpretation of it. And then it just kind of gets, recycled with something new. And I think that's what we're seeing a lot of. I mean, musically speaking, the aesthetic of power and money and women, I mean, I'm pretty sure we can find those themes almost everywhere. Right, especially power.
That's more what I was referring to. The theme of power, money, women, and all that stuff. You know what I mean? In music, when did that start? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's been around even before hip hop, possibly.
Oh, that's been around since one person had more than another. I think it's just it's a human thing. In music, yeah. It's a human thing. I mean, it shows up in literature. It shows up in ideology. I mean, there's tons of different ways that, like, I think scholars try to slice it. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, it's a human thing. You know, it's just whether or not it sells because people make it look cool or, you know, XYZ thing. So
Um,
I think it's a human thing, man. But okay, so it was a lot of Spanish rock then, rock en español, and so then you
no, man,
graduate.
a lot of Sublime, a lot of Black Sabbath. You know what I mean? I remember I was a big fan. I was a big fan of Black Sabbath, Sublime, Led Zeppelin. You know what I mean? Like I was a for sure. I loved the rock. I loved the Beatles. It was a lot of different things. That when I initially first started playing music, I would do just covers of those songs. And
Do
I even started a like little band in high school or whatever, and like we played for like the lunch hour and all that. And I remember we just do covers of Sublime, you know what I mean, of Led Zeppelin, of you know, what I mean? Those are the first bands that come, bands that come into my head. But yeah, definitely all those genres. And then yeah, man, and I have no clue how I got into Cuban music, bro. I know that's coming next. Cuban music.
No, it wasn't. So
Okay.
not yet, not yet. But okay, so rock en español, and then you graduate high school, right? So from high school until, so what did you do after high school then? What was the plan after high school? Did you go to? I don't think. Yeah.
So after high school, it wasn't my first. It was in college where I started taking music seriously. Where I was like, okay, you know what? I really like this. I'm not gonna box. I'm not gonna do this professionally for a living. I don't know what else, like what I'm gonna study. You know what I mean? I was really into philosophy. I liked philosophy a lot.
Oh, really? Who were you reading?
Yeah.
Like, what were you into?
I took a philosophy class in community college. I remember with this really dope professor. He went over kind of just a general. It was like philosophy 101.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like I really liked that class. So I was like, wow, I think I want to either major in philosophy or in music. You know what I mean? Because I really liked the class. He went over kind of basic over everyone, over Plato, Socrates. You know what I mean? Even went over Marx and different whatever folks, and even I don't know Nietzsche. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't to be honest. That was my first experience with philosophy, and I really liked it. So I was like, I'm either gonna major in philosophy or in music, and then I told myself, you know what, if I'm gonna be broke for the rest of my life, I'd rather be able to be broke and sing the blues about it than to be broke and think and ponder about that all day.
We got to put that on the shirt. That's a strong quote right there. We got to put that on the shirt.
Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, man. So I was like, nah, I'm doing music.
And where'd you go to college?
So I went to Southwestern College for my official music training. You know, like before I would just play by ear. You know, so it was there where I had a really really dope professor. Her name was Dr. McGregor. She was a French horn player who played for the Symphony of San Diego. And bro, like her music theory class, like the basic music theory, like wow, it was like wow. I had no clue. I didn't know what I was doing while I was playing music. I just was playing by ear. And then like wow, that expanded my whole brain.
Yeah. And then as you're
of music.
And as you're studying music, go ahead. Sorry.
No, and then that kind of like motivated me to do more and study a little bit of classical guitar. Yeah, and so yeah, and then it was there that I started getting into jazz. Once I was getting into that, then that's where I was getting into jazz, and then I was hooked on jazz, and I become a jazz head. I was just trying to learn how to play jazz.
And you met Kamau, right? How'd you meet Kamau? I'm assuming it was around then.
So after I went to community college, I transferred to UCSD for my undergrad, and that's where I met Kamau Cañada, which is our mutual friend, one of the most amazing people, musicians that I know. And he just expanded my mind even more on jazz theory. You know what I mean? Because I came from a classical training background as far as the music theory part goes and classical guitar. I actually remember that before going to UCSD, I auditioned for UCLA in front of Kenny Burrell, and I
Oh,
didn't. Yeah, and I didn't get in, like, because I didn't know enough jazz. I went there, wanting to learn jazz because I was barely getting into it. But I prepared like a blues piece, but it was very like classical. Like it was really like written out. You know what I mean? Like, the way I was playing, I didn't know how to improvise. You know what I mean? Like I only knew like the pentatonic and the blues scale. You know what I mean? I didn't really know how to improvise. So when I auditioned, I didn't get in. But I ended up getting into UCSD and learned a lot through him. And then I had another teacher named Jaime Valle, who's a jazz guitarist from Tijuana, actually. But what is he from? Yeah, he's from Tijuana, but he's from Mexico, but he lived in San Diego. Really, really dope jazz guitar player, and that's where I learned most of my jazz guitar from him, and all the theory I learned from Kamal Cañada.
It's dope, man. And then somewhere around here, I'm assuming is when you hit that
No,
the Cuban
I got into Afro-Cuban music in Southwestern College. My first experience with it was in the Afro-Latin ensemble.
Oh, you played
like
in the band? Okay.
Yeah, with like most folks here, you know what I mean, that live here, their first experience is usually in an ensemble or something. So my first experience with Afro-Cuban music was in Afro-Cuban ensemble at Southwestern College. I didn't know anything, man. The only thing that I knew that was slightly Afro-Cuban was Santana. You know what I mean? Like Carlos Santana. So I would go in there, playing Carlos Santana. It was like, well, you know what? Try this song. Look, check out this song. So little by little. Yeah, man. And then I picked up the tres actually there. And that's where I learned about the tres. Like I learned about Pancho Amat. That was the first tres player that I ever like discovered was Pancho Amat, man. Like just seeing him play 3 strings. For me, it was a trip because I played guitar. It's like, how can he do that with only 3 strings? Wow, sets of 3 or whatever. I was like, how's that possible? You know what I mean? Like it boggled my mind. How can he do that with 3 strings? And I just decided to try to learn on my own. So I learned tres on my own, just trying to pick up videos and recordings in here, but I didn't really know how to play until I went to Cuba, basically. And by then I had already moved to Los Angeles to go to Cal State Los Angeles to get my master's degree.
You went right before. Yeah, we ended up coming out of the same program. You left a few years before I did. And that's when I really started to see you. So I knew you in San Diego because we met in this community college band that we both were playing for. We met and we hit it off and it was cool. We were playing. And then I saw that you left to Los Angeles. And you actually moved to a really interesting part of Los Angeles, right?
We didn't play together, huh?
No, we didn't. We were. When did you graduate?
When
did you graduate UCSD?
I don't know.
I think you're about 3 years ahead of me. I think is what it was.
Chris. I was there with Chris Rios.
Oh yeah, Chris Rios. Shout out to Chris, another phenomenal San Diego musician that's in LA right now.
I didn't talk to him in years, man. I talked to him a couple of days ago.
Yeah, so then you went to LA, you went to CSU LA, you studied under Paul de Castro, and then you started this amazing band called Changui Majadero. So
the band that I started, that was after I went to Cuba. So the cool thing about Cal State Los Angeles, the program there is that it gave me a lot of, apart from Paul de Castro's a really cool dude, and Bob, who I learned a lot from too. It gave me the time to actually go to Cuba and study out there. And I believe that I even got credits. I think I got a credit for whatever to complete the program, my time out there. So that it gave me the time to go out there and to learn Changui, you know what I mean? So it's funny, man, because even when I first went with my first trip to Cuba, I didn't really know much about Changui music, you know what I mean? Like I knew about a recording, a CD, little YouTube videos here and there, but I didn't really know much, you know what I mean? Like, and I didn't go to Cuba to learn Changui. I went to Cuba to learn tres, to learn son, you know what I mean? Like I went with the goal of trying to study with Pancho Amat. Like I wanted to take classes with him. But when I went, he wasn't there. He was on tour. So I was like, oh man, I missed, and I just missed him. So I had a phone number that Robert Fernandez gave me, that Bob from Cal State Los Angeles. he gave me a phone number of some folks in Guantanamo who play Changui. He was like, hey man, why don't you hit him up? You know, if you want to learn Changui, go to Guantanamo. So okay. So once I got to Havana, I saw that Pancho Ma wasn't there. I hit up the phone number, and little did I know that phone number was Tavera. I mean, Tavera was the one that picked up the phone, and you know, like I didn't know who he was at the time. Usually, I was just like, hey man, quiero aprender Changui. Me dijeron que te llamo a ti. Dice, mira, montate en la guagua, vente para acá. You know, montate en la guagua. And I was
how long?
Like,
okay, hold on. Let's pause because that's a lot. That's a lot to go over. So first and foremost, the tres. Why don't you play a little bit? You got one there, right? Let's show the people what a tres is, because the tres looks like a guitar, but it's not a guitar. A guitar has 6 strings. This looks like a guitar, and instead of having the 6 strings equally spaced out, we have the tres with 6 strings in pairs of 2 in 3 sets, and it's tuned differently. And instead of playing chords like usually you do on rock, you play lines. Go ahead, play us a little something.
No, I was playing chords. I was playing chords.
Exactly what I'm saying it don't do. All right, Gabriel, I see how it is. All right, play us a little something.
Someone told me long ago, okay,
go ahead.
Si mi nombre es Gabrielito y García mi apellido, un hombre que no hace ruido, pero un gallito muy fino. Canto con mi propio estilo, un estilo callejero. Mi canto le doy al pueblo trabajador, y lo entrego con amor. Este changui majadero, pero bailalo para ti ningún.
So that's a tres. That's what a tres sounds like. He was playing a variation of Para Ti Nengon, probably like one of the oldest, right? That's actually one of the oldest songs ever associated with the tres. It's like from the 1800s or something.
Associated with Changui music too.
Yeah. With Changui. So the way this works is you have this instrument. This instrument is an old instrument. You'll see it played in son music, which for people who don't, for people unfamiliar with it, son music sounds like salsa, right? What would you say, Gabriel?
People who don't know, it all sounds the same.
It all sounds the same, right? So it'll sound like salsa, but let's call it son because that's what it is. But son actually is the descendant of all these other branches of music that came from this other side of the island. Havana's on one side, right, the western side, but then you have this other eastern side of the island right next to Haiti, which a lot of these musics actually came from. And there's this one province called Guantanamo, and from here, say again.
Well, yeah, on the eastern side of the island.
On the eastern side of the island, exactly. And that's where this music and this instrument is from. That's why when Tavera said, come to Guantanamo, that's why he said, come to Guantanamo, because that's where they're at. We're going to introduce who they are. And that's where this music and this instrument really comes from, the eastern side of the island, as opposed to the western side, which has the capital, Havana, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because most people fly in. Well, back then, there was no flights to go to anywhere else. You have to go to Havana. It didn't even and back then, like I didn't travel from the United States. I don't even know if you could travel from the United States back then, but I didn't care. I just went through Mexico, you know, like I wasn't gonna let anything kind of stop me from going over there, you know. So I just went through Mexico, and all flights go directly to Havana. So there's no flight that goes to any other city. So you have to stop by the capital.
So then you were in Havana and you got off the phone with Taveras, and he said basically just get on a bus. So how did that happen? You just like went to a bus station, was like, look, I'm trying to go to Guantanamo?
Yeah, that's it, man. Yeah, that's it. It was just random and crazy. You know what I mean? Those adventures are the funnest. You know, whenever I've traveled in my life, the things that I don't plan are usually the things that end up being the most meaningful. You know what I mean? You meet the most meaningful people. You know what I mean? It's funny how life works that way.
So then you pay for the bus, and what do you got? You got like a backpack or something. How long was that bus ride? What was the trip like to get from La Habana to Guantanamo?
Like 6 or 7 hours. It was cool, man, because I got to know everything outside. You know what I mean? Like just driving by, I got to see the cities too. To be honest, I didn't really like Havana. You know what I mean? Like I would be there, but it's a very hustle city. It's a capital, you know what I mean? Like folks there are hustlers, you know what I mean? And so I didn't really like it, you know. I was there. It's cool. Like it's cool to be there for a day or two, you know. And don't get me wrong, I got a lot of homies from La Habana, but I didn't like it. So when I got to Guantanamo, it was a completely different vibe from Havana. You know what I mean? You got it's like the city versus the countryside. So Guantanamo's all countryside, you know what I mean? And they're all country folks. So once I got there, it was just like, man, I felt like I was home. I felt like I was in my dad's ranch in Mexico, you know what I mean? Like chilling with a bunch of dudes speaking Spanish. The only difference is that they're just a little bit darker than my pops. And not even that much darker, because my dad is a dark motherfucker. You know, he is. You know, the funny thing is, bro, that I don't know much about my dad's family either, man, because I didn't meet any of my grandparents except for my grandma, my mom's dad. But my dad's dad was really, really dark. Well, anyways, in the coast of Mexico, there's a lot of Afro-Mexicans. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know that in Nayarit, where my dad's from, there's black folks, you know. There's like I know that there is in Guerrero and Veracruz and Oaxaca. I know that there's Afro-Mexicans, and you'll see it very prevalent. But in Nayarit, like I didn't know that like there are folks, you know what I mean? Like
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, so and my dad, like if you look at him, he looks like a mixture of indigenous with black with Samoan. He looks like, if it's funny, man, because he travels a lot with my mom, because my mom has to travel a lot for work. So everywhere he goes, they think he's a native from there. He's a native from there. So my mom has gone to Guam. They think that he's from Guam. Goes to Puerto Rico. They think he's from Puerto Rico. He goes to Samoa. They've been to Samoa. They start talking to him in Samoa, and they be like, no, you know, it's funny. My dad's just like a paisa dude, you know what I mean? But he looks like he's like from every you know, it's hard to tell where he's from. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen him.
Yeah, man. There's a fascinating documentary, super well done. I'm forgetting the dude's name. He's an African-American cat. He's a documentarian, a researcher, but he did Black in Latin America, I believe it is, or Black in America.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, I'll link to it in the show notes. But he goes over how hundreds of thousands of slaves hundreds of thousands of people were taken, of course, from Africa, forced into slavery. And most people think that the millions of people that went to Brazil, went to Cuba, went to the Caribbean are basically the majority of the story and all of the story. But a large part of it actually went through Veracruz to Mexico. And a lot of these people ended up in Mexico. But the mixing of the peoples in Mexico was very different than the mixing of the peoples in the Caribbean and other places in Latin America. So when you look at, there's a video that when I give lectures on this, I always love to show that it's danzón being played and danced in Veracruz, Mexico. And you see people that are like mixed, but because the mixing was different, they just look more mixed than anything, right? But they're actually these very strong lines of African descent in Mexico that a lot of Mexicans either actively ignore, neglect, or just don't know of, you know?
A lot of racism. But like I knew that in Veracruz and Oaxaca and these areas, you'll have a population Afro-Mexicans. Like, but I had no clue that in Nayarit, that, you know, it's very little, but there are, you know what I mean? Like I'm following this girl on Instagram who's she's like a beauty. She's trying to be the beauty Miss Nayarit or whatever, or I don't know if she won or she's contesting. Anyways, she's Afro Nayarita. She's a black Nayarita. She's like in her like traje, in her traditional outfit, like with the huichol outfit and all that.
Oh, nice.
The huichol is like the art that you see back there. You know, really cool, man. But she looks African American. You know what I mean? She looks African. Very, very, very cool. And I didn't know that in Nayarit there's still some of that population. So who knows, man? Down the ancestry where my dad's from, man. My dad, I'm telling you, man. I would love to do a DNA test on him. Yeah, because and then pictures of my grandpa, he's really, 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 really dark, man. Like it looks like a mixture of indigenous with African whatever, Afro whatever, because there's a lot of that mixture. You know what I mean? The indigenous whatever, even the indigenous from Veracruz and Oaxaca, whatever, mix with the Afro.
Yeah, man. It's the story of Latin America. Well, you know, the New World because of the colonial era, you know.
Did you know the first Mexican president was black?
Really?
Yeah.
President of Mexico.
You have to fact check me on that, but I believe that the first president of Mexico was Afro-Mexican, man.
Check that out. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna fact check you.
It's so crazy, bro. How that side of Mexican history has been ignored. I mean, it's not surprising, but it's not surprising, you know, given the history of European civilization coming in, you know. But it's just so crazy that up to today, barely they're recognizing the Afro population. You know what I mean?
There's still a lot of problems with racism that Latinos have to come to terms with. There's a lot of tons of prejudice against indigenous populations in Latin America that are, you know, I mean, it's horrible. It's horrible. The African ancestry will be ignored, right, or neglected, but people actively are prejudiced against indigenous people across Latin America. It's something that a lot of people don't talk about. Latinos tend to not talk about it. I mean, there's one side of my family, on my dad's side, there's some indigenous blood, and they refuse to acknowledge it. You know, like, it's like behind closed doors that they even acknowledge it, but it's clear. You know, I think there has to be some on my mom's side too, and they're from Mexico. So it's something that we, you know, as a, whatever you want to call it, demographic, people, collective, we have to come to terms with. Okay, so you went to Guantanamo and you show up there, you got a backpack, you get off this bus, you've been on this Cuban bus for 7 hours, which I'm sure was, you know, not the Ritz on wheels or anything like that, which is great. It added to the whole experience. So you get off this thing and you're walking around in Guantanamo. What happens?
So check it out, man. The even crazier thing, bro. Like, you know, I don't want to talk. I don't want to say this to talk smack about Havana or anyone from Havana or anything. But even when you just get off the bus, like, the people are just instantly friendlier. You know what I mean? Like, you know when you're lost and you ask for directions, they're actually, you know, oh, see, you know, like very, you know, like, so just instantly, I got that vibe. You know what I mean? And so I believe I take a motorcycle taxi to I think I had like just a backpack and a tres. I take one of those motorcycle taxis to the Casa de Changui, Guantanamo, and there I just see 5 dudes just like waiting for me. Like, I just see 5 dudes just there, and I'm like, okay. I get off, and then, you know, one of them was Tavera, the one was Carmelo, the other one was Jose Andres, the singer, and they're just fucking treating me like family, man.
And let's take a minute to talk about who these guys are, right? So Changui Guantanamo is perhaps, if not the most, what would you say, respected, well-known, innovative,
important Changui groups that exist. You know, there's not that many Changui groups that made it international. You know, that's the problem with this genre, that it's a genre that that people don't know about. You know, or even within Cuba, people don't know about it. When they think about Changui, they have a different image in their head. We'll talk about that in the later. But so it's a genre that people don't know about, and not only is it a genre that people know about it, people who don't know the music or listen to it, it's just sounds strange. You know what I mean? Especially if you don't have a musical background, if you listen to like traditional Changui music, for the untrained ear, to the Westerner, to the normal person, it just sounds like a kind of just loud maracas, loud noise, a guitar, you know what I mean? And some singing. It's like, all right, it's just very African, very raw, what I say, very, very raw style of music. So, what was my point? What was your question?
Oh, we're just talking about Changui, man. Why don't we listen to it? Let's take a minute.
I guess what I'm saying is it's you're talking about Changui Guantanamo and who they are. You know what I mean? Like, they're one of the most important bands who have made it international, made a Changui. They've been able to tour and travel and have Changui known throughout the world.
It's super impressive. So why don't we listen to a little bit of this? There's a video where I think that you took this and you're with them. Taveras is on marimbula, which is like a bass-like instrument, looks like a box, and you're actually playing tres. So why don't I play that for you now?
Bueno, dime, moro, ¿quién es el que va a tocar ese tema? ¿Quién es? Oye, el que que va a tocar este tema es Gabriel, mi hijo, viene Majadero en Revancha.
Ah, Majadero en Revancha, pues venga, Gabriel, vamos a ver a hacer el Majadero en Revancha. Pero tiene que tocarlo bien tocado.
Que se vaya para el monte.
Le dicen a Gabriel que su changüí no tiene onda. Le dicen a Gabriel que su changüí no tiene onda. Pero no es lo que siente su corazón. Pero no es lo que siente su corazón. Envidia, la envidia lo mata. Envidia, la envidia lo mata. Pa' los majaderos traigo un changüí. Pa' los majaderos traigo un changüí. Pa' los iguarayas traigo un changüí. Pa' los majaderos traigo un changüí. Pa' los que hacen sombra traigo un changüí. Pa' los majaderos traigo un changüí. Pa' los carboneros traigo un changüí. Pa' los majaderos traigo un changüí. Pa' los que discuten traigo un changüí. Pa' los majaderos traigo un changüí. Pa' los popolizos traigo un changüí. Pa' los majaderos traigo un changüí. Pa' Luis Merretito traigo un changüí. Pa' los majaderos traigo un changüí. Y pa' los que ya traigo un changüí. Pa' los majaderos traigo un changüí. Que no echan traigo.
You want to know a crazy story about that video?
Yes,
David?
I do. Yes, I do.
Where do you think that video was filmed?
It said from Mexico in the beginning, but where was it filmed? You tell me.
Yeah. It looks like it's in Guantanamo, a backyard of Guantanamo. No, that's actually in Mexico. So that's when they were in a residency tour. A residency, you know what a residency is? At a bar in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, which is right next to Nayarit, where my dad's from. So they told me that they were gonna be in Vallarta playing for a year. And so I was like, fuck, dude, like, but my family like all live over there. I'm gonna be kicking it with you guys, you know what I mean? So yeah, I had an opportunity to record and do a lot of stuff with them there in Mexico. So the fun thing about that story is because that restaurant that they played at called La Bodeguita de Medio in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, exploited the shit out of them, bro.
Oh no.
Yeah. They're playing 6 days of the week with no amplification, with no microphones, nothing. You know what I mean? By 1 month that they were there for a year. After the first or second month, like Jose, the lead singer's voice, it was already
shot.
Giving out. They're already giving out, because imagine you have to sing over that loud metal scraper, you know, loud maracas, you know what I mean? Like you have to, you know. So yeah, after about like 2 months, only be able to resting 1 day out of the week, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And I think there were like 3 sets in a day, you know what I mean? Like 3 to 4 sets in a day or whatever. So when I got there and I saw that, I was like, dude, I was upset. So I came back and I bought them like a little mini. So the reason why I didn't give them any amplification for their vocals is because they were put kind of in the front of the entrance to try to attract tourists to go inside or whatever. And I guess, I don't know, the amplification and the microphone stands will get in the way from people walking. So what I did is I bought them like a little mini wireless headset system and like a amplifier that wouldn't get in the way. So after that, dude, like that's how they were able to survive the whole year there, man. And the whole year they were able to survive, because if not, Jose Andres wouldn't have a voice right now. He would have had to retired early. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. He could have gotten.
And still that still affect him and Moro, and that still affected his voice. That's the sad thing. Well, it's the sad and the cool thing at the same time is that, dude, they literally play until they can't sing anymore. Like if you see like the old videos of the like Cambron and even Chito La Temblé, bro, they're like in their super old. You know what I mean? Like playing to basically till they die, man. That's, you know.
It's intense. It's intense, man. It's so nice of you that you got them a system. I mean, it's yeah. Who knows what would have happened if you hadn't got them that system?
Yeah, a lot of things happened in that trip, bro. I got kicked. I almost got arrested, and I almost got kicked out. I almost got in a fight with one of the bartenders, dude, and they were all gonna jump me. And
why, man? What are you doing to get in a fight with bartenders?
Long story.
All right, let's not go into it.
It's a long story. It wasn't my fault though.
For the Patreon. So you go out and you study with these guys, and then you come back and you found this group, Changui Majadero, which is, I mean, in my opinion, an amazing band. You have some of the best musicians in LA. That were longtime members, part of the band. You've gotten tons of love, like all over the country, right? I mean, you were doing something for Lincoln Center at one point. You were traveling, you were touring before COVID. So how did that come about? Where did the idea to form a Changui band based in LA come about, when we both know that
it came about insanity from a man who's been hit in the head way too many times in boxing.
We come back to the concussions. That's what it is. We come back to
that's
the
what
boxing.
happened, man. A guy who just wasn't thinking straight. No, I'm kidding. No, man, it's been a challenge, and it still is a challenge, bro. Sometimes I think to myself, like, what am I doing? But other times I think, like, you know what? It's okay. You know what I mean? It's gonna be okay. You know what I mean? Why did I start? Well, first I started the band when I came back because, you know, I fell in love, you know what I mean, with the culture, with the people. It wasn't just the music, because I was already in love with Cuban music, with son, you know what I mean? But I didn't know the culture. You know, like I didn't live there. It was just things that I've heard, you know what I mean? That I heard on recordings, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't really know the culture. I get to the Havana, I see the Havana culture. I wasn't digging the Havana culture, you know what I mean? I wasn't digging it. You know what I mean? Even though I love the music that's coming out of it, some of the best music that I still listen to today. A lot of the bands, my favorite bands come from La Habana, you know what I mean? And like as far as Timba and Son and Santiago de Cuba or whatever. But it was in Guantanamo where I fell in love with the culture, Guantanamero culture, that it's a lot different from the rest of Cuba, man. Just like when you go to New Orleans, the New Orleans culture is a lot different from the culture of the rest of the United States. Just right. Its own culture, its own influence. Like Guantanamo has a lot of influences from its neighboring countries or whatever. As you mentioned before, Haiti, Puerto Rico, you know, Dominican Republic and Jamaica, you know what I mean? Like my tres teacher, I think his grandfather was Jamaican or his dad was Jamaican or something. Or yeah. So what made me want to start the band is that I just fell in love with the people, the music, and the culture, and I knew that it was a style of music that is, I don't want to say is dying because the people in Guantanamo, the music isn't dying. You know what I mean? In Guantanamo, there's Changui still very, very strong. I mean, even though reggaeton has taken over all over Cuba, you know what I mean? You still see Changui in Guantanamo, you know what I mean? But I know that outside of Guantanamo and outside of Cuba, it's just a rare music and it's worth preserving. It's worth spreading the word. You know what I mean? It's worth it was just something that it was just like a kind of a calling, man, that I wanted to do, you know what I mean? So I came back to Los Angeles, not even with the intention to start a band. It was more just to record Changui and play and put it up on YouTube. So that was my first official thing. That I came back, I made a YouTube video of me playing like all the instruments, like a 4-slice video part, and me playing some Changui, and I put it up on YouTube. I shared it, you know, here some friends shared it here and there, and out of nowhere, that's where I get a call from the Ortiz brothers from the band Son Mayor, which is a popular salsa band, a really old school salsa band here in Los Angeles. The Ortiz brothers are really good musicians. Go ahead.
one of the vanguard bands of Los Angeles, right? Let's give them their due. Son Mayor has been around since the 90s, at least. Tiki
Yep.
Pasillas has
Yeah.
passed through there.
Mhm.
The Son
A lot
Mayor
of
and man, and the Ortiz brothers are heavyweights. I mean, Georgie Ortiz played.
heavyweights. Some of like that was I think that was my main school, man. Playing with them was my main school, and in pocket and everything and everything. Like even when I came back, like from Guantanamo, like yeah, I learned Changui, but there's a lot of things in music that just that are super important that I still didn't have, like learning how to play in the pocket or play in which is still it's difficult. It's one of the things that's every day that I struggle with. You know what I mean? But yeah, man. So they were like my main school, and that. So I get the call from Alfred Ortiz. He said, "Hey man, I saw your video on YouTube playing Changui, man. I love Changui. Like I listen to this every day. This is like my medicine. It is like, bro, like let's start a band or let's do something. Let's get together." So I got together with him, and that's kind of how the band started. And then his brother got in, George, Norel,
All super nice people. All very, very nice people.
Oh man, most beautiful people, man. And it's funny, man. Our first gig was for a fundraiser for Raulito, he was a bongo player for Rumba Habana. Really nice guy. And we didn't really have a band yet. We just wanted to play. It wasn't a paid gig. It was just something like we want to go out and play. And actually, we had Joey De Leon playing marimbula. Funny enough, with us. And it was just kind of something that we wanted to do because we loved Changui music. You know what I mean? So that was our first like gig, first official show with marimbula and everything. And then just things kind of evolved from there. You know what I mean?
And now let's see what you've done, because the work that you've done with this band has been, again, I think very, very impressive. But you've done something very interesting in the sense that you've taken a music that's very niche, right? This is there's a very specific audience for this type of music. Like you said, this isn't popular music. This isn't music that you're going to see like J Balvin doing or anything. Hopefully he should call you up. But you've taken this and you've kind of created it and presented it in a way that has a little bit of, California Chicano style to it, I would say, in the sense of the imagery we're going to see right now. I would say, I mean, I guess you could also say it's Cuban style, right? There's a bunch of nice cars, but you've presented it in such a way that is very accessible for people who aren't familiar with this music to consume it and to enjoy, right? So why don't we, go ahead.
That's been the struggle, man. That's been the struggle, because you could have this style of music, but if no one's, is able to listen to it, it's kind of, you're only playing it for yourself. So that's been the lifelong struggle, man.
La envidia y la hipocresía es el mal de mucha gente que matan la sangre fría, silenciosa y lentamente.
Changui Majadero, I see. It's yeah, you make a point when you said, yeah, you hear this. It's, like it has its California, East LA, whatever, SoCal flavor. And it does. Because we're not playing like traditional Changui. You know what I mean? Like it's not, we're not using a marimbula. We're not, it's not, it has the influence, our influence of the individual band, So yeah, man. So it's interesting that you point that out.
Well, it's what's going on. You also in the modern iteration of the band, you have Norel singing leads, you're Andres singing, Alfred is on percussion and singing. You have David. I'm forgetting his last name. What's his name? Incredible bass player. Gomez. David Gomez, great bass player playing bass, but he's more kind of like he has kind of like a timba sound, playing a 5-string, which is not really part of this music. And then sometimes correct me if I'm wrong, but if Norel isn't there, then you also have I'm forgetting her name.
Whitney.
Whitney. Right.
No,
Right. Who?
no. So right now the band now has 3 new members. Whitney Hernandez she's a vocalist from Havana, Cuba, who now lives in LA. Juan Moreno, who's actually Mexican from Torreon, Coahuila, Mexico, who lived in Colorado, moved in here to Los Angeles. He's actually Whitney Hernandez. They're married. And trumpet player Onier Bacallao, who's from Cuba, also living in Los Angeles. So they're the 3 new members in the band.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so, okay, so you have this project now, and you've made it such that it's able to be consumed. And you're saying that this has been the struggle, right? The struggle has been, how do you get this music that's from a small corner in Cuba to be enjoyed by people of many different backgrounds and many different places? But you've been doing that of course, from the outsider's perspective. What are some of the gigs that you've played?
Well, here's another interesting thing, David. You're a musician, and you're a well-educated musician. So, like, that's what I'm saying. Like I've made it accessible, but it's still to a certain point. You know what I mean? Like it's difficult to make it even more accessible to the mass general audience, because to the average person, that's salsa music. You know what I mean? What you're playing is salsa music. There's no differentiating towards, if this is Cuban, like, okay, maybe people who are Cuban heads, who like Cuban music or whatever, who know about music, okay, maybe they'll think that's like son cubano. You know what I mean? But like to go back specifically Changui, I think now that YouTube is like and the internet is so accessible to everyone in the world, I think now people are starting to get like, okay, that know the difference between Changui and son, you know what I mean, and salsa. But before, bro, like people didn't know. Still, the masses of the people, Cuban music is especially Changui music. Let's say Changui music. Changui music is a very hard sell. Cuban music already is a very hard sell. You know what I mean? Like now Changui, it's even harder. You know what I mean? It's a very hard sell. So yeah, man, it's been very, very challenging to survive. You know what I mean? To make a living off this. I don't make a living off of just my band. I make a living, like I'm a guitarist and singer, you know what I mean? And that's how I make a lot of my dough too, like guitar and singing different styles of music. So yeah, man, it's the music industry is it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. But what are some of the gigs you played? Because you've had some high profile gigs. I know that I've seen.
Yeah, we've done a lot of cool gigs, man. We've done a lot of cool gigs. We've played for the Lincoln Center. We just did a live stream for the Library of Congress, which was huge. I think that one's really huge because, Library of Congress, American Folklife Center, I played with my maestros Changui Guantanamo at the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. We've done SF Jazz, you know what I mean? That's from the Bay, where you're from. Shout out to all the folks from the Bay. Yeah, man, just to name a few. Dodger Stadium. We've done a lot of cool gigs, man. And I'm super grateful for those opportunities, and I'm super grateful for the people in the industry who took the chance to hire a band that plays the style of music that, like from a business point of view, I get it. You know what I mean? From a business point of view, like you're scared to invest money into a style of music that no one knows about. But at the same time, if you're a cultural curator, it's your responsibility too to bring that kind of music, and not just think about numbers first, you know what I mean? But usually, that's what's the first thing that people, think about and care about is numbers, you know what I mean? like not the actual art or the culture itself, unfortunately. You know what I mean? What's going to bring the numbers.
Right. But I do think that the kind of gigs that you're doing, and the Library of Congress gig, of course, is huge for, if not only for the fact that, again, there's this very unique band performing this very niche type of music for the American populace, right? For the American people and abroad. And I think it's a testament to the work that you've done in this band, a testament to the work that the other band members have done in the band, and a testament to the fact that people do want to hear this kind of stuff and people do see it as meaningful. I, for one, want to hear more of it. You know, I want to see more of it. I know that there's many other people that want the same. And I do think, I agree with you. I think with the internet is going to get easier, and I hope it does get easier to share your music and to share the music of the band.
Well, here's the issue that I have. Yeah, man. If it were up to me, I'd be recording and playing Changui. You know, like all day, every day. The issue is money. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, I gotta pay bills. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the driving force as far as like the one getting the gigs and whatever, the one managing the band. So that's the issue, man. And not only that now with the whole Spotify playlist and all that, like, dude, like I've lost my faith in the whole streaming platform. You know what I mean? Like, it's, yeah, I haven't had good experience with Spotify or stuff like that. You know what I mean?
If you could give one piece of advice to anybody listening and to everybody who consumes their music via a streaming service, what would it be? I mean, I have my own ideas, but I would want to hear it from you as a performer, as someone who's, you know, dependent on people supporting your music and your livelihood with their dollars, literally, right? What would you recommend them to do if they're trying to actually support people, not just ingest music the way that I would argue most people here in the United States do it? In other words, they're doing something and they just put on Spotify, right? So what would you recommend?
It's a good question, man. There's a lot of answers to that. You know what I mean? To answer that question, I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for other bands, but for me, like the best way to support my band is just to be very actively following us, actively sharing our music, actively purchasing our music, or if you don't want to purchase it, that's fine. Just, you know, like our music is all available on our website. So I took down most of our music from Spotify and from streaming services, and I just have it for free on my website. It's a good thing. There's a pros and cons for that. You know, the pros is that, you know, I have control over my distribution as far as, you know, like profits goes to us, to the band. You know what I mean? The cons is that my music isn't accessible to these streaming services, you know what I mean, which the majority of the people are on. And, you know, to talk about that, you have to get into the conversation about streaming. You know what I mean? You have to get into this whole other world of conversation. But, you know, the streaming platforms, I'll tell you this much, hasn't been beneficial to me or my band. YouTube has been very beneficial. You know what I mean? Without a doubt. And that's why I still post stuff on YouTube. You know what I mean? Because YouTube has been very beneficial, you know, as far as the accessibility to everyone, you know what I mean? And the accessibility to be able to do it. Now, yeah, I guess just be actively following the band. And I don't know. I don't know. I have to think about what else people could do. I don't know. That's a good question, man.
One thing that I tell my students is to buy direct, right? So if you really like the music that a particular band has, and we're talking about local bands, or, you know, this isn't like Justin Bieber doesn't work this way, Balvin, all these different people don't work this way. But if you see anybody performing locally and you want to support, buy direct. So you see someone performing, walk up to the stage, how much is your CD? And you buy it directly, because all that money goes directly to them. And we already know that money is going to go directly to their livelihoods or to the next album or to more music, right? So buy directly from them. If you're watching this podcast, there will be links directly to Changui Mahadero's website or Gabriel Garcia's band's website. and you can buy directly from them. You can buy the CDs directly from their website, and they of course get a much larger chunk of the money when you buy directly from them. The streaming services seems like there's like fractions of pennies per view or something like that, which comes out to, I mean, Gabriel, correct me if I'm wrong, but like close to nothing, right? Unless you have millions of views.
It's really, really little. You know what? And I think more important than actually just buying the music, because, you know, in the long run, I think if you're more of an active follower in the sense that you're actually sharing our content. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not just talking about putting a post here on Facebook and sharing one. I'm talking about like actively sharing the music, you know, sending a text message, hey, to a friend, to family member, hey, dude, check this out, you know, like spreading the word as much as you can, because you know, without our listeners, we're nothing. You know what I mean? Like, without our fans or our listeners, who are we playing music for ourselves? You know what I mean? Like, you know, like I don't want to play music for myself. You know what I mean? Like, I want to play music for folks to enjoy. You know what I mean? So I think in the long run, you know what I mean? Like, just kind of really sharing our music and being an active fan, whatever that means, you know what I mean? Like, is more valuable than a one-time purchase of an album. You know what I mean? That's only get, you know, like, I think once you build up those numbers of actual like active fans, I think the money will come after that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Also, we're in the holiday season, so be sure to get your family members a copy of their CD for, you know, someone needs some kind of present for Christmas or something. So they would be a perfect stocking stuffer to get Changui Majadero CDs. How many CDs are out right now?
Right now, albums?
Yeah.
Well, we have our first album that we came out and a bunch of singles. And I'm about to release a live concert that we did for the Library of Congress, the American Folklife Center. So I'm going to release that pretty soon.
Nice. We're going to keep an eye out for that. The last thing I wanted you to talk a bit about, going to what we first opened up with, you're a founding member and the founder of this band, the band leader of Changui Majadero. This is Cuban music, right? Mm-hmm. But done in your own flavor and reinterpreted within this East LA Chicano aesthetic, this American aesthetic. But you're also a singer, songwriter, guitarist. And you posted a video not too long ago when all of this stuff about the border and people wanting the wall and Trump wanted to put the wall up. It's you and Bajo Sexto, playing Bajo Sexto and someone else. And you guys are accompanying each other, looking out over LA, what I believe is LA. And I thought this video was particularly powerful. And I would love it if we can watch it a bit and you explain where the music came from, what these lyrics mean, and why you were motivated to create something like this. And actually who the other musician is. So why don't we listen to that right now?
Yeah.
Mis corridos no los cantan porque no tienen poesía, son corridos subversivos con verso de rebeldía. De día nos mata la mira, de noche la policía. Por cruzarme la frontera me la rifé con la muerte en manos de la Gestapo, que están vestidos de verde, militares disfrazados, ya no maten a mi gente. Año del 48, 1800 corría. Los yanquis nos invadieron y a México dividían. Ahora soy un extranjero en tierras que fueron mías. Mentiras que te compraron, fue una invasión bien planeada a punta de bayonetas. Media patria fue anexada. Aquí nacieron mis hijos, en California robada.
my homie Luis Horacio filmed it. Really good cinematographer, cat. And then on the vocals, my homie Marlo Velasquez is singing. So Marlo is just the homie from Boyle Heights, born and raised in Boyle Heights. I met him actually living in City Terrace. He used to work a marisco truck, and I would go all the time to have ceviche down the street from La Mina, where I used to live. And I just remember, like, dude, like, there's two marisco trucks. There was one that's still there called Rosie's or whatever. I forgot their name. And then there's another one right there on City Terrace Drive, right next to Cal State Los Angeles. And I remember his ceviche was just, oh my God, it was bomb. You know what I mean? Like, and I was just like, and it was only there for a couple. The sad thing, that it was only there for maybe 4 months, and then they decided, I guess they were making money. But so I met him buying mariscos, and then I saw that there was a bajo sexto on the dashboard of the food truck. And I asked him, he was in the cash register. I was like, hey man, who plays bajo sexto? That's a dope instrument. Like he's like, oh, I do. It's like, on the real. I was like, oh dude, I play too. You know what I mean? Like, let's jam out. So he just got off and we started jamming. I was like, oh wow, this fool is bad. Like, this guy has a badass voice for this genre of music. Like, he has that really, really like old school corrido sounding voice. Like, he's badass. So we just became friends, and we just started just recording stuff. Actually, that song California Robada, the lyrics are by my dad. So my dad composes corridos, Mexican corridos, but with a conscious twist to him. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't like any of the narco corridos or anything like that. Yeah, and so yeah, man. So we those lyrics are from my pops, man. My dad is amazing, in my opinion, an amazing writer, composer. I need to record more. He has a lot of songs that I need to record. I'm telling you, man, it's really difficult to dab in all these things. You know what I mean? Like, in order for the Changui project to be successful, you have to put so much time into one thing. In order to do something, it's just like everything takes up time, and not only time, resources, money. You know what I mean? And then time is money. You know what I mean? Like for a lot of things. You know what I mean? So it's challenging, man, balancing all these things. But it's at the same time, it's a blessing that I'm able to do all these things. You know what I mean? That I'm able to play. So like right now, I think my brain is in the want to see things in a negative mode. You know what I mean? But I think honestly, everything's been a blessing, man. Everything has been a blessing. Be able to play all these styles of music that I love. You know what I mean? Start from corridos to Changui music. You know what I mean? And coming soon, I have this Changui hip hop track coming soon. That's in the process of being mixed by the homie Decibel Studios. Shout out to Decibel Studios, Jesus Martinez. So yeah, so in that song, you're gonna be able to hear my hip hop influence in the music blended with the Changui.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to that. And I think, we're all just kind of, the country, I think the world, we're all just kind of in survival mode right now. And episode 1 of this podcast was Mark Ruiz, and he's getting his doctorate in psychology, and he does a lot of therapy work. And I talk with him often about this kind of stuff, especially for creative people.
I saw that podcast. It was a great podcast.
Oh, you saw that one?
Yeah, it was really good, man.
I appreciate that. that. And he was talking a lot about, making sure on that podcast, and also just, when I talk with him about other stuff, it's important to recognize those feelings, recognize that survival mode. And like we were talking earlier, making time to actually look at the silver linings, like you just did, and saying how much of a blessing it is, and recognizing how much of a blessing it is, whatever little blessings we might have, being able to sit down and have this conversation with you, to me, is a blessing, right? Like, being able to have the time to do this. Other people can't even do this. Other people are dying in the hospital. So it's always looking at the positive. And again, I've never get tired of gassing y'all up. I think Changui Majadero is dope. I think the music that you do otherwise is really dope. The lyrics to this song, I think I didn't know your dad wrote it. And
yeah, man, my pops was heavy, man. He has a lot of other songs, very heavy lyrics, man. Really, really good.
Is there anywhere where people can read these things?
Did you ever hear Changui pa Yotzinapa on our first album?
Yeah.
Those lyrics are by my dad.
Man, well. You have to not have to. I would love it if I were to ever see just these lyrics put up as poems somewhere on the internet, somewhere where people can get they can read them. And
I'll send you the link. My dad has a YouTube channel, but he's not a musician. He'll put up videos of himself like singing the corridos, but he's like singing out of tune and everything because he's not a musician.
Even better.
But the lyrics are amazing. Like the lyrics are just like, yeah, man.
Send them to me, and I'll post it. I'll post that link in the show notes to this episode. They're heavy, man. That's not easy to do. It's not easy to write lyrics like that. A lot of people, I think if anything, poetry, perhaps, lyricism in music is one of the more underappreciated aspects of music. Fuck, should I say pop music in general in this country? Shit, is that too fucked up to say? I mean, so to listen to lyrics like that, it's a breath of fresh air, and poetry that way. So. Yeah. Man, this has been great. We're already at almost 2 hours. I don't want to take too much of your time.
Didn't seem like 2 hours.
I know, man.
I like being on the other side, man. I think I enjoy being on the other side than being the host, man.
Oh yeah, you have your own. We'll promote it too on this one.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm kind of like I don't know. I'm not really doing it. I don't know if I'm gonna continue doing it.
Oh damn, man, you got to keep going. I'm going to say you got to keep going. Everybody should keep going. Everybody needs to keep going. Everybody needs to keep doing what they're doing.
No, but I like you, man. You're a good host. You're good at this. You know what I mean? You're really good at this. I'm not really a good speaker.
Oh, man. I think a lot of people who are listening would disagree with that. So, but I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate that. If people want to support you and they want to hear more of your music and they want to support Changui Majadero and they want to support that project, or just follow you and see what the next steps are and the other releases that you have planned. And I'm sure once COVID lifts that you're going to have a ton of other gigs that they can go enjoy in person once all this stuff lifts. Where can people find you and where can people do that?
So I think, going back to your question too, man, how they can support us, you know what I mean? Like we're all going through a financial difficult time. So, honestly, the best way to support, and I think that even once this whole let's say this recession is over, even when the economy is back to normal, the best way to support, man, is to just follow our music actively, share our music, actively. Like I think that's kind of the best way. You could right now we're mostly active on Instagram and Facebook under Changui Majadero. ChanguiMajadero. You can follow us there. Yeah, man. And also just leave comments saying, that you appreciate what we do, because, I could create something, and maybe someone like you really, really, really enjoys it and are really appreciative about it. But if I'm not aware of it or the other band members aren't aware of it, then, like, it helps when people let themselves know that us know that that the music is helping them or that they really enjoy it. Leaving comments, sharing. Leave us a message us. Hey man, let us know that because it encourages us to keep on going. Like I think that's because ultimately, we play for the public. That's what we're doing it for. Like, some of the things that have helped me keep on pushing forward this project and music in general, despite all the challenges, is a lot of the encouragement that I've received from random people. Telling me how I've made a difference in their life, or whatever, and those things like encourage me to keep on moving forward more than anything monetary, to be honest, more than buying anything.
Well, you're always going to have a huge supporter in me. You're always going to have a huge supporter in this podcast. In anything I do, really. I try to I'm going to be, I for one can be more active as a follower. So I'm going to make sure to do that. And with these other bands, I think you bring up a lot of good points that, you know, I'm probably one of those lurkers, you know, where I like a lot of people's things, but I'm perhaps shy in reaching out and telling somebody how much I like them, you know.
But I get it too, bro, because you know, I was actually checking out your podcast about the social media dilemma with the psych, you know, like we want to limit our time on social media too, you know. So it's challenging, you know what I mean, because at the same time you want to be supportive, at the same time you're trying to come out with your own stuff too. It makes sense, man. Like it's difficult, man. The way everything's structured, it's really difficult, you know, to you know, and then you're competing with a lot pop culture. A lot of it is garbage. You know what I mean? So, you know, you're competing literally with a photo of ass and titties somewhere and an ass jiggling. You know what I mean? Like, what's gonna grab a dude's attention? You know what I mean? Like this, you know, video of a guy playing the tres or an ass and titty. You know what I mean? Like, which one's gonna be more compelling to click? So yeah, you're dealing with all these things too. You know what I mean? And you're dealing with you also trying to move forward your project. So I get it. I understand it's not. I understand it's nothing personal, but I understand it's a struggle. You know what I mean? It's a struggle, and I mean, yeah, the best way to support us is definitely just to be active. You know what I mean? In the way you follow us. You know what I mean? That's I guess.
I would say this though. I think that there's a lot to be said for. I agree with you. The structure is really fucked up right now. The Social Dilemma, that documentary goes over it and exposes it in detail for sure. But I do think that there's something to be said about being active in changing that structure, right? So I think what you're saying is beautiful, and it's also very powerful. So if you love somebody's music and they have a clip on Instagram, a comment sharing kindness ain't gonna hurt nobody. It's not gonna hurt you. It's gonna help them. It's gonna make them feel better, which is gonna help them make more music. And at the end of the day, sharing kindness is perhaps the most powerful thing you can do, period, right? Music or otherwise. So
now, if only the algorithms were set up to have more exposures, give more preference to kindness, as opposed to, you know, just whatever's more popular, you know, more whatever, you know, like if the algorithm was set up that way, I think we would have a better situation.
Well, let's be the change, man. Let's all have donkey heads. Be stubborn about it and be stubborn about sharing the kindness, such that this algorithm does change, right? And I think that it's in the minds of more people now with documentaries like Social Dilemma, and I think even, you know, Facebook is getting slapped with a bunch of stuff lately, and Apple is, you know, they have some restrictions now on the things that they can collect and the Facebook can collect through Apple devices. So I think little by little things are changing, but let's be that change in our everyday habits. Let's spread more kindness, you know?
I agree, man. And try to see things halfway full and halfway empty. Like try to see the positive, man. That's like I said, man, that's always been a challenge for me. And still to this day, something where I wanna, you know, see just the negative, but you gotta see the positive in things too, man. So amen to that, brother.
Yep. On just as an aside, there's a wonderful book by I believe the guy's name is David Burns. It's a book called Feeling Good, on this topic of not seeing the negative all the time, seeing the positive. This book, it's like a self-helpy kind of book. This book's changed my life. An amazing book, an amazing book. If you're struggling with this kind of stuff, you should check it out. I want to say one more time, thank you so much to Gabriel Garcia, founder, leader of Changui Majadero, singer, songwriter, entrepreneur, all around badass, and very happy to say he's been my friend for about 10 years now. I'm very excited. Gabriel, I'm very excited to see what's going to happen after COVID and after all this stuff lifts. And I will be at, for sure, the first show y'all play in LA. I will be there. Thank you so much, man. This was great.
David, love you, brother. Thank you so much, man.
That'll do it for this episode of Everything But Music. Again, that was Gabriel Garcia. His band is Changui Majadero. I will be posting all the links that you all will need to follow him, to follow Changui Majadero, to see what Gabriel's next gigs are going to be, what Gabriel's performances are going to be in the new year, in the show notes for this episode. I think the most important thing to remember is exactly what he was saying. When you love something that an artist is doing, doesn't matter if it's a musician, doesn't matter if it's a visual artist, a sculptor, whatever, make sure you let them know, because that kind of gratification, that kind of validation means so much to artists, and it can really give them the momentum that they need to continue doing what they need to do. being an artist, especially in the United States, can be very challenging and can be something that requires, as Gabriel said, a lot of resources, a lot of patience, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And as Gabriel said, one of the things that you can do to help him more than anything, and to help other artists like him, is to just let them know how much it means to you what it is that they do. In addition to that, one thing that I always tell people is make sure that you buy directly from them. If you're going to buy CDs, know that that money can go directly to them via you purchasing it from their hands. It's also a really cool way to go meet the musicians themselves and really start to create a connection with them and create a relationship with them. And you get to know them as people. And you get to know that your money is going directly into their pockets and directly financing more of that amazing music that you like so much, or whatever, art or anything else, any other kind of performance, any other kind of creative activity that you really, really appreciate. Again, Gabriel is on Instagram, Gabriel's on Facebook. I'll be posting all those links in the show notes. So be sure to follow him, and be sure to make sure that you're letting them know, the band and him and anyone else who's creative in your life, that you appreciate, how much you appreciate what it is they do. In the next episode, we'll be talking to Dane Schultz, who is currently getting his ethnomusicology degree, his doctorate from Columbia University. He does extensive research in Cuba, so we'll be hearing a lot more about Cuban music, specifically about timba, which is the kind of music that he's very much interested in. He's worked with a lot of bands that do this kind of music, timba music from Cuba. This is one of my favorite types of music and something that I have a lot of experience playing and studying. So I'm sure that's going to be another fascinating conversation. And we're going to get to know a bit about him. He's also a world traveler and someone who's traveled extensively in Latin America. So I'm very much looking forward to that. That'll be out sometime next week. So make sure you subscribe and make sure you follow me on Instagram and on Twitter. That'll of course be in the show notes as well, so you can get alerts and know when the next episode is out. If nothing else, stay safe, stay healthy, and be kind.